Ignoring simple instructions for a year gets user fired and charged. Our system for requesting resources is quite basic. A user asks for a specific something, and they receive that something. From the user's perspective, it's incredibly straightforward. Even if the backend involves complex routing, there's also a prominent button designated for requesting something on behalf of another person. Critically, there's a large red warning underneath this button stating that if you don't use it, the something you request will be allocated to you. We even built in an extra confirmation step. If the system detects you already have something and you request it again for yourself, a pop-up appears asking, "Are you sure you don't mean you want it for someone else? You already have something." It's designed to be very clear. Enter user A. This individual was responsible for onboarding and supporting many users in their department. The department seemed to have frequent new hires, perhaps due to expansion or turnover, with at least one new person joining every month. Like clockwork, on the second Monday of each month for about a year, a ticket would land in our queue. The consistent message, "I asked for something for new hire, but they never got it. Please fix." This occurred without fail. Can you guess the recurring issue? It involves someone consistently failing to click that specific button and ignoring the multiple warnings and pop-ups. My team and I had grown exceptionally tired of sending user A the exact same email every month. That email always contained detailed step-by-step instructions. Please use the button to ask for something for someone else. We'll send the ticket to finance to swap the charges. With the backing of our manager and director, we collectively decided enough was enough. We would not correct the mistake this time. Our initial action was to disable user A's ability to submit tickets through the standard portal. From now on, they would have to call the help desk to initiate any requests. We also deliberately did not forward the current incorrect ticket to finance. Instead, we sent user A a stern email. It explicitly stated, "You have made the same error every month for the past year. We have provided you with the correct process repeatedly. If you are still unable to follow these instructions, you will be solely responsible for the resulting charges." Attached was a history of the last 12 months of tickets related to this issue. Crucially, user A's boss was CC'd on this email. User A clearly didn't notice their supervisor on the CC line because their reply was immediate and unprofessional. Written largely in angry capital letters, it read, "What do you mean I can't open tickets anymore? And why am I getting charged for it? Do you know who I support? You will fix this now or my boss will hear about this." The email also contained other rude remarks about the system's perceived flaws and my team's supposed incompetence. We didn't get around to drafting a response until after lunch. As it turned out, we didn't need to. User A's boss had already replied to the thread. Their email was apologetic and took responsibility. It began, "I apologize for user A's behavior. Please do not let her impact the excellent support you provide our department." The boss continued, "User B will now be the designated contact for interfacing with your team to acquire something for our new hires. Please grant user B the permissions user A previously held." They added Talcra, "I have reviewed the instructions you've been sending user A and tested them. They work correctly. User B will be following those directions." The message concluded by referencing a new ticket number for the termination of user A's network access. Terminating user A's network account was a task we completed with considerable satisfaction. Fired and charged? Now that's the sweet taste of tech support justice. Make sure you're hitting subscribe faster than user A. Hit reply. A simple fix leading to a heartfelt reunion. I'm employed at a retail location that provides technical support services for consumer electronics. A few days ago, an older gentleman whom I'll refer to as Pete came in. He'd made a walk-in appointment earlier that day through our receptionist. When I checked the details, the only information logged was third-party software hard of hearing. Upon approaching Pete to greet him, I noticed he was intently watching my lips, likely attempting to read them. I decided to inquire if he was familiar with American Sign Language, ASL. I've been teaching myself ASL as a personal interest for several months. Pete signed yes, and we proceeded with our conversation using Sign. He explained that the problem was with Skype, which was constantly crashing on his tablet, a device that was roughly 5 years old. This issue was preventing him from making video calls to his wife, who is deaf. His wife was currently living on another continent, having traveled there for a temporary work assignment expected to last 2 years. This visit marked the halfway point of her stay, meaning it had been a full year since Pete had physically seen his wife. Skype was their primary method of communication over the long distance, as neither of them felt comfortable using email or other text-based services for regular conversations. As I went through the process of verifying his account password and ensuring a backup of his device was made, Pete and I communicated back and forth using ASL. His face was visibly brightened throughout our interaction. It felt incredibly rewarding to be able to converse with him in his preferred language, even if my signing was slow, and to give him the dedicated time and attention he deserved, despite the issue not being directly related to the physical products we sell. Once all necessary verifications were complete and the backup finished, I proceeded to uninstall the Skype application from his tablet. I then reinstalled it, helped Pete sign back into his account, and used Skype's built-in test call feature to check if the crashing issue was resolved. Previously, the app would crash immediately upon attempting to initiate a call. This time, the test call connected and functioned perfectly. It was a successful repair. I briefly looked down to jot down a few extra notes about the service performed. As I did, I began to hear some quiet sounds like muffled coughs or sniffles. I looked up and saw Pete. He was crying but with a wide smile waving into the tablet screen. He had called his wife and she had answered. He introduced me to her via the video call and mentioned that it had been 3 weeks since they had been able to speak to each other. I quietly stepped away to give them some private moments together. It's experiences like these that truly sustain me and reaffirm my passion for working as a technician. Although the technical fix itself was minimal, essentially just a simple software reinstall, being able to resolve the problem and witness that moment of reconnection made me feel genuinely impactful, like a hero. It's been a few days since then, and I can still clearly picture the joy on Pete's face. Client refuses to pay for services they claim not to use until everything goes down. I work for a small IT firm that specializes in providing essential online infrastructure for businesses, including website hosting, email servers, and custom web applications. Our cast of characters for this particular tale includes me, your humble IT professional handling the situation, boss, the primary decision maker and head of the client company, mom, the co-owner of the client company, and also boss's mother. After several years of a generally smooth working relationship with this client, our accounting department noticed a discrepancy. We hadn't received the monthly payment covering their website and mail server services for the previous month. It's not entirely uncommon for clients to occasionally miss a payment due to administrative hiccups, like forgetting to set up automatic transfers after a bank change or an accountant being on vacation and overlooking a payment instruction. So, following standard procedure, I reached out to them to understand the reason for the missed payment. Me. Hello, this is me from IT. We've noticed we haven't received your payment transfer for last month. Is there any issue? Mom, I have no idea what these fees are for. I'm not going to pay for them. Me. These charges are for the hosting of your company's website and the operation of your mail server. Mom. We don't use those things. I don't want them and I absolutely will not pay for them. Click. She hung up abruptly. Well, that was certainly an unpleasant and unproductive exchange. There's no need for that kind of rudeness. Given the outright refusal to pay based on a false premise, we decided to escalate. We sent a formal registered letter with recorded delivery. This letter clearly stated that if the outstanding amount was not settled by the end of the following month, we would be forced to suspend all their services. A month passed and then a little more. Still, no payment transfer arrived. True to our word and the terms outlined in the letter, we proceeded to shut off all their services. The website went offline and their email stopped functioning. Predictably, within about 30 minutes of the shutdown taking effect, my phone rang. It was Boss. Boss, my emails have completely stopped working. You need to fix this immediately. Me. Yes, we had to shut down your server because we haven't received payment for your monthly fees for the past 2 months. Boss, what? That doesn't make sense. Mom is responsible for handling all our suppliers and invoices. She should have paid you. Me. No. She explicitly told us that your company didn't need our services and that she refused to pay for them. Boss, she's completely crazy. We manage all our invoices, client communications, and contracts entirely through email. Without it, we might as well close the company doors. I will personally take responsibility for ensuring you are paid on time from now on, but please turn the server back on right now. Following the boss's urgent request and promise, we restored their services. Approximately 20 minutes later, one of his employees arrived at our office door. They hand-delivered a check covering the 2 overdue months, plus the payment for the current, upcoming month. From that point forward, boss consistently ensured our invoices were paid promptly and without issue. Yes, the classic "we do not use that," followed by immediate panic when it stops working. A truly timeless tale in tech support. User claims not a computer person while being uncooperative and condescending. This situation occurred a couple of weeks ago while I was working my shift on the out-of-hours IT help desk. My role involved supporting several different businesses once their internal IT teams have finished for the day and gone home. It was around 11:30 p.m. when a call came through from one of our least favorite clients. This particular business is notorious for being challenging to support. We have extremely limited system access and very little documentation for their environment, making troubleshooting a frequent headache. The caller was an individual who sounded quite affluent and spoke with a distinctly British accent. Let's call him EA for extremely annoying. Good evening, service desk. How may I assist you? Or $EA colon. Oh, hello. I seem to be unable to print anything at the moment. Alright, I can help with that. Are there any error messages appearing on your screen, or does the printer itself show any signs of activity? $EA colon. Now, hold on just a moment. I must inform you that I am not a computer person, so you will absolutely need to articulate everything in the simplest possible terms for me to understand. Me. Okay, I understand. Could you please describe what happens when you try to send a document to print? $EA colon. What happens? Nothing happens at all. That is precisely why I'm telephoning you. And me. I see. When you attempt to print, do you notice any messages or pop-ups appearing on your computer screen? $EA colon. No, nothing of the sort. At this point, my patience level was already beginning to wear thin. I have a particularly low tolerance for callers who are unwilling or unable to provide even the most basic descriptive details about the issue they are experiencing. This individual was also projecting a significant air of condescension, which only compounded my frustration. Me. Could you confirm if your printer is switched on? Are any lights illuminated on the device? $EA colon. Of course it is. That's a rather silly question, isn't it? Me. Not necessarily, sir. Sometimes a simple check can reveal the issue. To help me understand the process you're following, could you please walk me through what you typically do when you need to print something? $EA colons. I've already told you I'm not a computer person. You need to make your questions much clearer and less technical. Me. Okay, let me try again. Please tell me step by step exactly what actions you usually perform when you want to print a document or email. Look here, I genuinely do not grasp what you're asking me to explain. It's quite confusing. Me. Let's simplify it further. What is the very first thing you do when you decide you want to print something? $EA colon. I simply do not comprehend your line of questioning. Me. Alright, sir. It might be easier if I could see what is happening on your screen. Would it be acceptable for me to connect to your computer remotely? This would allow me to see what you are seeing and potentially identify the problem more quickly. $EA colon. Remote connection? This all sounds terribly complex. I am really quite unsure about what you are proposing to do. Me. I would like to connect to your computer over the internet so that I can view your screen and attempt to diagnose the issue with your printer. $EA. I am sorry, but could you possibly explain that in simpler terms? I'm finding this difficult to follow. Sounds. Me. Sir, I'm honestly not certain how I can explain this concept more simply. I need to establish a remote connection to your machine so I can examine the settings and try to resolve this printing problem for you. $EA colon. Look, this entire process is extremely unfriendly and difficult for individuals who are not technically inclined like myself. Why can't you people just fix it without all this complicated procedure? Me. I am actively trying to assist you and fix the issue. However, you haven't been able to provide much detailed information about the problem, which is why I'm requesting remote access to investigate directly. While I respect that you may not be technically savvy, Our out-of-hours support does operate with certain limitations, and we rely on users being able to provide a basic level of information. If this process is too challenging, I can arrange for the main service desk team to call you back during standard business hours tomorrow morning when they have more extensive tools and resources available. Would you prefer that? $EA. No, absolutely not. This document is very important and I require this issue fixed immediately. Now, how exactly do you propose to get onto my screen? Meiko. Very well. To begin, I need you to open a web browser or simply navigate to Google. $EA. A web browser? I only use this machine for emails. What on earth are you talking about? Me. Okay, do you ever use Google? $EA:. Yes, of course I use Google. Everyone uses Google. Me. Excellent. Please open whatever you normally use to get to Google. We then spent a painfully protracted period just getting the remote support software, in this case Go to Assist, downloaded and running on his computer. His lack of familiarity with basic computer operations made even this simple step a significant hurdle. Me. Thank you for bearing with me. I am now successfully connected to your computer and can see your screen. I will now check the configuration for your printer. After a brief investigation, I saw the status message for his printer. Alright, I see the printer status is currently showing as not connected. Could you please physically go over to the printer and ensure that all the cables connecting it to your computer are securely plugged in? I quickly looked up the model number he had mentioned. It was indeed a very old Epson printer, which would only connect via a USB cable. At this point, I had reached my limit with this caller's helplessness and condescending attitude. But I don't know how to do that. Me. Sir, I am truly sorry, but I cannot physically be there to plug in the cable for you. You are the only person physically located with both the computer and the printer. Please go to the printer, locate the wires coming out of it, and check that they are firmly plugged into the back of your computer. $EA:. Oh, alright, I suppose I can attempt that. Several minutes of silence followed, broken only by the occasional huffing sound from EA's end. Then I heard the distinct auditory cue from Windows indicating that a USB device had just been connected. Me. Okay, I heard the connection sound, and the printer status on your screen has updated. It is now showing as connected. It seems the cable was indeed disconnected. Please try printing something again now. EA navigated to his Outlook application, opened an email promoting discounted camping equipment, and proceeded to send it to the printer. I can hear your printer operating in the background, so it sounds like everything is working correctly now. $EA:. Yes, it is working, but I don't feel you actually helped me at all. Click and arc. He hung up without another word. EA was truly a monumental pain to deal with. To add a final touch to the interaction, he neglected to close the Go to Assist session. So, for the next 30 minutes or so, I amused myself by subtly moving his mouse cursor slightly whenever he tried to click on something just enough to make him miss or click the wrong thing. I continued this until I eventually got bored and disconnected the session myself. It took all that just to plug in a cable. Ever had a user this helpless? Let me know in the comments. A routine laptop repair uncovers priceless lost family photos. One morning, I had a laptop practically shoved at me by a clearly frustrated executive. He was complaining that his machine had locked up yet again. In our department, the standard procedure dictates that all technical issues should be submitted through our ticketing system. However, due to the unspoken rule of RHIP, rank has its privileges, executives often bypass this process and come directly to us. So I set aside the usual workflow and began my standard diagnostic routine. Through my initial troubleshooting steps, I quickly determined that the primary issue was simply faulty RAM. I replaced the memory module and prepared to return the unit to the executive. Upon presenting the repaired laptop, he informed me that he would not accept it back unless I could guarantee with 100% certainty that everything that was wrong with it had been fixed. Internally, I felt a surge of frustration. Part of me wanted to respond less than politely, but I maintained my composure. I simply asked him to list any other problems he had been experiencing and pulled out a notepad to document them. He proceeded to rattle off a series of complaints that, to me, all pointed towards the need for a basic system cleanup. They screamed, "Just run a damn cleaning utility." I took the laptop back to my desk to address these additional reported issues. I spent some time going through the system, uninstalling unnecessary programs that had likely been installed for a single forgotten use, and clearing out accumulated junk data. While performing this cleanup, I noticed a folder within his roaming profile that appeared to be consuming an unusually large amount of space, reading about 12 gigabytes, despite being hidden from standard view. I logged in using my administrative credentials and enabled the viewing of hidden and protected operating system files. Upon doing so, I saw that the hidden folder contained data dating back to 2014. It seemed to be a temporary folder created by one of the old, now uninstalled programs, likely some kind of photo management software filled with pictures. Typically, company policy dictates that any personal pictures or files discovered on company machines should be immediately deleted. However, in practice, no one in our IT department ever strictly enforces this. We aren't that callous. Moreover, this was an executive's machine. Considering all this, I decided against deleting the files. Instead, I created a new folder on his desktop, labeled it Old Pics, and moved the entire contents of the hidden folder into it. I then took the laptop back to the executive's office. I handed it over and informed him about finding the pictures, explaining that I had moved them to a folder on his desktop and that the decision to keep or delete them was entirely up to him. He thanked me for my time and effort, and I returned to my workspace. About an hour later, the executive and his wife, who had apparently arrived to join him for lunch, approached my desk. The executive looked genuinely happy, while his wife appeared to be crying. It's my habit, perhaps from how I was raised, to stand up and greet my superiors when they come over to my workspace, especially when I'm not actively engaged in a critical task. I stood up, but I was completely unprepared for what happened next and was utterly shocked by the outcome. The executive's wife stepped forward, wanting to express her gratitude for my finding the pictures. The executive then reached out to shake my hand, thanking me profusely. To my absolute surprise, he then pulled me into a hug right there in front of the entire IT department. I awkwardly returned the hug for a moment before he let go, looking slightly embarrassed himself. My eyes were wide with disbelief, completely flabbergasted by this extremely uncharacteristic display of emotion from him. His wife, struggling to hold back tears, explained the profound significance of the pictures I had recovered. She told me that they had believed these photos were permanently lost. In 2012, their 4-year-old son had tragically passed away from leukemia. The pictures I found were taken just before his diagnosis when he was 3 years old. A house fire a few years prior had destroyed many of their belongings, and they thought every single photograph of their son had been lost in that fire. Apparently, the collection I had stumbled upon was the only remaining copy. The executive's wife then reached out and embraced me as well. Around the IT department, everyone was staring intently at their screens, many with visibly puffy eyes. None of us had anticipated such a deeply emotional moment unfolding in the office that day. Shortly after my boss emerged from his office, he personally thanked me for my actions and forwarded me an email chain. It included a company-wide email from the CEO, which essentially recounted the story, specifically mentioning me by name, and highlighting the importance of striving for excellence and how everyday diligence can lead to unexpected, impactful results. My Skype for Business application quickly became overwhelmed with a constant stream of attaboy messages and congratulations. The flood was making it difficult to concentrate on my work, so my boss suggested I take my lunch break early to escape the digital deluge. Sometimes tech support is more than just fixing computers. It is about helping people. If you like this emotional story, hit subscribe and let me know your favorite post in the comments. Have a great day.